So what does it mean to be a renfaire Rennie? G'day, it's Sprout here in my human disguise, and today I wanted to talk about what the heck the word Rennie means. Now this word has a lot of people in the renfaire community disagreeing on what the word really means. There is kind of a spectrum on what the word could mean. There is like a box that the word fits into. Now over here on this side of the spectrum, you have people who say that a Rennie is anybody who is really enthusiastic about the renfaires. So that can be pretty much anybody who really likes the renfaire, likes to go to renfaire, is a Rennie. And then you have on this side of the spectrum where some people say that in order to be a Rennie, you have to be touring around the country and making being a Renaissance Festival worker your main source of income. You know, the way that you make your living. And then somewhere in the middle, you have what it means to be a Rennie is anybody who works at a Renaissance Festival. So that can be people who work full-time and travel all around the country. And then you have people who maybe just work one Renaissance Festival and maybe makes no money doing it. And then you have another group of people who are kind of outside of this box who might be full-time Renaissance Festival workers. They might travel all around the country, but they don't identify with the word Rennie at all. To some people, they think that the term Rennie is more of a derogatory, offensive word, sometimes referring to people who do travel around the country working Renaissance festivals, but they don't really know how to behave. So I wanted to find out what this word means. Like, is there actually a clear definition for this word? And is there some sort of agreement that people can come to? So when you go to Google and you use the kind of AI overview feature, which by the way, is not always accurate. One time I looked up Sprout the Fae of Seeds into the Google search and saw the AI overview of who Sprout the Fae of Seeds is, and it said that Sprout the Fae of Seeds is basically a renfaire character who performs on a stage and makes plants grow. Which is funny because that's actually what my plans are for my stage show, but Google should not know that. But anyway, point is, take this with a grain of salt. It says the term Rennie was used to describe people who worked at Renaissance fairs. But there's no specific date for when the term was invented. And then when you go to like all the different websites that it can take you to, like Wikipedia, WordPress, Reddit, a whole bunch of different Renaissance Festival websites, they all say different things. It seems like people really can't agree on what the word Rennie means. But what I am seeing is the most common definition for the word Rennie is the part in the middle that basically just states that it is anybody who works at any Renaissance Festival. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think having a clear cut in stone definition for the word Rennie really matters that much. I feel like if you really want to identify as a Rennie, you know, go for it, just like with anything else. If you want to identify as anything, for the most part, you know, just identify as that. Like, if you want to call yourself a Rennie as a patron, I think that's fine. But I will say this, being a renfaire patron is an extremely different experience and way of living than a touring renfest participant, is the correct term for worker, who makes this their full-time job. This is what pays their bills. It's a very different experience. I have been on a lot of sides of the renfaire. I have been a patron since I was about 6 years old or younger. I have been a patron consecutively for over 10 years now. I have worked for a festival for 7 years, and I have been Sprout for 6 years. This is my 6th year. I have been a vendor sales associate, I have been a cast member, and now I am an entertainer. I have also worked for quite a few Renaissance festivals now, being in several different states. So there's definitely people out there who have more experience than me, of course, but you know, I have a decent, solid amount of experience at this point, and I at least have enough experience to tell you that everything about being a patron and being a full-time Renaissance Festival participant it's so different, guys. It's so different. Even the patrons who travel from festival to festival as patrons, it's still a very different experience than actually working for the festival. And I think most people understand that. But there are some people who have frustrations, people who do this full-time. Sometimes they have frustrations when patrons are calling themselves Rennies. Sometimes these patrons are the same kind of patrons who act like they know everything, and it's just simply not the case. I mean, I don't know everything, and I'm kind of big at this point, you know, as Sprout. I'm decently big, and I still have so much to learn, and I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that my experience is very different than like somebody who's a full-time vendor and somebody who actually runs, you know, produces a Renaissance festival. But the people who go around the country and they tour and they do this as their like main job, there are quite a few things that we all have in common. There's a lot of experiences that we all share together. I don't agree with the type of gatekeeping that sometimes happens when people who work less than others are seen as kind of less than. That happens mostly with like something that people call weekenders, which is basically just a Renaissance Festival worker who either works for one Renaissance Festival or they go home after the weekend. They come in maybe Friday night and then they leave Sunday night or Monday morning. So they don't stay during the week and have like, you know, weekday activities with everybody. And that's a whole nother video I would like to talk about. But I don't agree with the gatekeeping side of things where people are looking down at people who do it less than these people. But I also agree that, you know, working full-time doing this is just, it's not even comparable to being a patron. It's so different. You know, if you're a patron, you're going to a Renaissance Festival to take in happiness, right? You are there to be happy. And if you're working a Renaissance Festival, especially as an entertainer, yes, you're there to make money, but your job is to make the patrons happy. And while being like an entertainer, for example, is really fun, I'm not going there to have fun. I'm going there to work. So at the end of the day, I think that the most common use for the word Rennie is anybody who works at a festival, but I also don't think that there's particularly any harm in you being on one side of the spectrum of, you know, being an enthusiastic patron or being a full-time Renaissance Festival participant. But that is just my opinion, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the subject. What is your opinion of what the word Rennie means, and do you find it ever offensive or potentially problematic if somebody else uses the term, or if, you know, there's a group of people gatekeeping the word? Go ahead and, you know, have that discussion in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you liked it, I hope that maybe you can click that like button, and I really hope to see you in the next video.